We as women just think we're very capable, and we are. But what is happening is we are lacking getting face to face and lacking vulnerability. And
Mm,
now the highlight reel and the performance is really unattainable.
mm,
It's really,
yeah.
it's if you have any sort of perfectionism built in you, the social media and Pinterest is making it worse.
And the comparison,
Yeah,
right? Because I
exactly.
think a lot of my frustrations lately have been, I'll be just honest, seeing other people have what I want
Yeah,
and being like, but Lord, I'm happy for them. I don't want you to take it
right.
from them. I
Sure.
want it for them more and more and more and more. But Lord, I'm also waiting for that. Where's mine? Why don't my kids act like that? Why
Right.
doesn't my house look like that? They're the desires of my heart, I think.
Mhm.
I hope it's not just because I've seen other people have them, but they are things I desire.
Oh,
So social media can be really tricky like that if you don't check
yeah.
yourself, guard yourself. I mean, that takes some discipline. You were created to live abundantly and multiply in every area of your life. But let's be honest, the road isn't always easy.
We know that firsthand. We've been through highs and lows, from losing everything to now managing an investment fund, and we're still on the journey.
This podcast isn't about having it all figured out. It's about real stories, kingdom principles, and trusting God with what's already in your hands.
On Mandate to Multiply, we go deep into faith, family, finances, and other topics, sharing what we've learned and what we're still learning as we walk it out with Jesus.
If you're ready to think bigger, live boldly, and multiply what matters most,
Then you're in the right place. We're Jonathan and Melissa Edmiston, and this is Mandate to Multiply.
all right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Mandate to Multiply podcast. Today is going to be so fun and so special because I have the privilege and honor of bringing on my bestie, Marissa McCrory. Now, I have to warn you guys, okay? Marissa and I have had many of conversations, hours of conversations over the last few years, and we'll tell you a little bit more about our story as we chat. We've had so many conversations where we have said, gosh, this should be a podcast.
Yeah.
This should be
So good.
an episode. This should be, taken out to the masses. This should be because it's so rich and so good. And Marissa and I go really deep, really fast. I'm going to tell you more about her as we chat, but I want her to introduce herself. Just know that this is one of my closest friends, and we've had the honor to do the privilege of doing life together for many years or multiple years. And now she doesn't live in the same place I live anymore, but we still we're just sisters forever. So, Marissa, welcome. And
Thank
just,
you.
yeah, I'm so glad you're here. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so it's so cool that we're
I
here. We're
know.
making it happen.
I know.
Um,
And it's gonna be so
Go
good.
ahead. Yeah. I would love for you to start us off by just kind of telling us a little bit about you, like what you want our viewers, our listeners to know as far as like who you are and what you do.
Okay. So, first and foremost, daughter of the king. I've been married for 20 years now, which is wild. I have two amazing kids, a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. And currently, I am helping women in their health around holistic solutions with gut health and hormones. And also, previously, was in the ministry world for like 10 years and have always been interested in helping people have healthier lives, whether it's body or soul. And so now the two have kind of merged into the coaching side, but specifically talking about the physical health. But oftentimes I find that we have to go deeper. The root cause isn't always physical. I'll just leave it at
Mm,
that.
that's so good. That's so good. Yeah. I have actually been thinking about that lately a lot as I see like my younger cousins, nieces getting married, starting families, and just kind of like start their life essentially, right? Being a little bit older than them. I'm like, man, if you like I see what they have ahead of them. It's so beautiful and so amazing. But one of the things I've really been thinking about, and I've even given them advice on because they've asked, is like do all the work in your heart.
Yeah.
before you
Mhm.
continue on with your life, right? Like, don't wait until you are married for 10 years and have multiple children to then start getting counseling, right?
Yeah.
Like,
For
whatever's
sure.
in your heart, whatever childhood trauma or just difficult stuff you've walked through or anything, because once you have kids,
Hmm.
whatever is in there
Oh yeah. They
will
will be
come
the
out.
trigger that brings it out.
Totally. And just the same with your health, right? You'll
Mhm.
start to have all these wild symptoms. And yes, it can be physical, but is also very much spiritual and you're a whole being, right? I know you talk about
Totally.
this a lot. And
Hmm.
so it's so important to, and I think this is such a great place to start because as it relates to everything in your life, right? The first place to start is with ourselves, right?
Yeah,
The first place to start is with our own hearts
for sure.
and doing all the hard work. Like I tell my niece, it's like read all the parenting books now, go to all the counseling now, find out, all the things that trigger you now, like address all of the hard issues now, because later on they'll just come up in a way that you won't want them to, and sometimes even won't understand, right? Like, why am I
Yeah.
having all these issues? Oh, because I have this thing in my heart that I actually haven't dealt with, not her specifically, but any of us.
Yeah, sure. I will also
So,
add to that, the caveat
please.
is we are always growing and changing. So don't wait until you think you're perfect enough to like get into
Mm-mm.
marriage because that doesn't exist. I just want to be
That's
really
so
clear
true.
about that too.
No,
You're
that is
continually going up and up.
a
So,
100%. You grow and you grow together, hopefully,
mhm.
and get married, have the kids, do all the things, but start that journey
Yeah,
along the way. And
totally.
and you never arrive, right? We're never like, oh, and I used to think that. I used to
Yeah,
think
same.
I've done work.
Yeah, I'm there, I'm good. Totally.
I think we've had this
And
conversation.
then
Yeah, you're like, I'm good, I'm healed, I'm whole. I've done 5 years of this, or 3 years of that, or 10 years of this, or 20 years of this. And then it's like, there's always more. There's always another layer, there's always another level. And I
Mhm.
think that's really good for people to hear because you can kind of think that you're crazy
Yeah,
when you've reached a certain level of 20 years in marriage, your kids are now older, you have successful businesses, you have more money than you did before, and you're like, oh, I'm good. And all of
yeah,
a sudden, boom, you get slammed and you're like, whoa, why am I'm suffering right now? And
yeah,
it's
that's
like,
not good.
yes, it's gonna happen all the time. It's just always growing and always, I had something even a few days ago where I was like, not okay. And I'm like, I had to just sit with the Lord and bring it all to Him and
Hmm.
go to another level of surrender that I had not even experienced before. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with God like that. And I was
Wow.
like, "Oh, this is another level of surrender." And like I really felt what it felt like to like wrestle with the Lord. Like I
Yeah.
could feel like Jacob in the Bible, like he would not stop. And I wasn't necessarily not stopping until I got something from God, but I wasn't stopping until like I let him know all the things that I was actually thinking and feeling. And that in itself was the blessing for me.
Yeah, that's so
Because then
good.
I had this peace and I was like, oh, wow, this is available in you instead of me
Yeah.
trying to carry it all myself.
Well, that's a really good point because
Yeah.
if you aren't raised in a relationship-based viewpoint of Christianity, if you have this religious mindset, that can carry with it a whole lot of thoughts about God's character. And it's actually
Mm,
something I was talking about yesterday. If you are deceived about God's character, you'll think you can't even come to Him with those messy moments, right? Those moments
totally.
of complete vulnerability. If you think God is like this harsh, distant being, then
Mm,
you're going to carry that inside of yourself. Or
100%.
I believe in good therapists, but you could spend your life making a therapist or your husband or wife, like your counselor. Like Jesus is supposed to be our good counselor, and he is. And there's a reason he's called that. But so many people never go to him with the issues of their heart because they think they can't. Like, or it's like, oh, that's not an important enough thing. Like, I need to be preaching to the nations. But out of our heart springs all the issues of life. We're supposed to
Hmm.
guard it. We're supposed to bring it before the Lord in intimacy. And I think it's so beautiful how you do that. You model that so openly. And I think more women need to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, especially, as we get older, and like I said, we never arrive. We have things to learn from the younger generation, and the younger
Mhm.
generation has things to learn from us.
Yeah.
But it's really important, no matter where we're at, no matter what season, there's always somebody either coming behind us or even like in full circle moments. They could be seemingly advanced,
Yeah.
but yet we're walking through something that they happen to be in as well. And so the biggest lie is to think that is to leave it to ourselves. And I struggle with this. I wrestle with this all the time, Marissa, because there's so many times where I just want to like say it all. Like I wanted to get on, camera that day when I was ugly crying and having this moment. I want to tell people like, you're not alone if you're feeling like this too, because
Yeah.
I can imagine how many women might see me and, my great kids who are also crazy and wild and amazing, but it's not easy to parent three boys
No,
by any means or any kids. They see my husband and I, like people see things and they think things. And I'm
totally.
not saying that it's a lie, but there are also hard things that happen and come with that. My faith is still tested. I'm human. I have difficulties. I have challenges. And so I just wanted to yell that from the mountaintops to say, women, like you're not alone in this when you're having these moments. The reason that they're there is they're either going to further isolate you, further send you into shame, further send you into fear, or there could
Mhm.
be great freedom on the other side, like I experienced because I was on my face, on my knees, crying out to God and telling him things that most people wouldn't tell their
Yeah.
creator, right? And I was like, and this is how I feel, and this is how I feel, and I'm mad at you for this, and I don't like this about my life, and I don't like, I mean, seriously, like
Yeah.
now some of the things are just like crazy talk, right? Like
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
dumb. But some of it is genuinely how I feel, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like I still love him. I'm still grateful. He's still faithful. He's still good.
Right.
But he knows he created me the way that I am. And so I took that to him. And it was like, boom, another level of intimacy with the Lord that is
Hmm.
available to all of us if we'll
Yeah.
just go there. Some people just don't
Okay.
want to go there to that ugly place. It's an ugly place, but the freedom on the other side is so worth it. And it's like I heard someone say recently, Jesus, every story in the Bible about Jesus, he didn't wait for the person to be a certain way. He actually met them in their ugliest, most sinful, decrepit places. And it was in that
Yeah.
moment where they came to him and said, Jesus, help me, heal me, that he transformed their entire life. It wasn't like they
Mhm.
stayed in a town somewhere far away and said, oh, I hope he helps me, right? But didn't actually give him all of it, right?
Yeah. So
So
good.
I think that's just so important for women to hear like it's okay to have hard days, it's okay to have hard moments. It's
Yeah.
okay when you're in a season of waiting on the Lord to know that even in your waiting, that when you're full of faith and you adore him and you love him, you can still have days where you are weary and
Yeah.
just he just needs you to let it like put it at his feet and surrender it
For
to him.
sure. For
And
sure.
I know you talk about that all the time, so I'd love to hear anything else you have to say about
Oh,
that.
I just think that in modern America and now with social media, I actually just made a video about this in my car like an hour ago. We as women just think we're very capable, and we are. But what is happening is we are lacking getting face to face and lacking vulnerability. And
Mm,
now the highlight reel and the performance is really unattainable.
mm,
It's really,
yeah.
it's if you have any sort of perfectionism built in you, the social media and Pinterest is making it worse.
And the comparison,
Yeah,
right? Because I
exactly.
think a lot of my frustrations lately have been, I'll be just honest, seeing other people have what I want
Yeah,
and being like, but Lord, I'm happy for them. I don't want you to take it
right.
from them. I
Sure.
want it for them more and more and more and more. But Lord, I'm also waiting for that.
Yeah,
Where's mine? Why don't my kids act like that? Why doesn't
right.
my house look like that? They're the desires of my heart, I think. I
Mhm.
hope it's not just because I've seen other people have them, but they are things I desire.
Oh,
So, so social media can be really tricky like that if you don't check
yeah.
yourself, guard yourself. I mean, that takes some discipline.
Yeah. Well, and we're not prioritizing face-to-face time with people. And the
Mm,
data is showing. I think I just
mm,
saw a stat, they were just talking about this at church, about the generation that is currently like around 20 years old. So they literally had their high school years stolen from them because of COVID.
mm.
They've seen many of their friends commit suicide. And that whole situation, I believe God used it for good, but also create a lot of isolation. And now we
Mm,
feel like we have this connection with people that some of them we don't even know in real life, and
mm.
they're just good at communicating. Some of them we do know in real life, and we think that because they shared an update on social media, like we know what is
All of it.
happening in their life, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody's actually getting across the table from each other and like
Mm,
doing life together, which is so dangerous on so many levels. First of all, like that's not the same as being in the room with somebody. Like we need
mm,
to be together,
mm-hmm.
not all the time, not to where it's unhealthy, but I fear that a lot of women, especially in our sphere, that are ambitious on some level, maybe have launched things in their life. Maybe they've like in a season of full-time mothering, like haven't prioritized connection. And we as women need it even more than men do.
Mm,
And it needs to be in person. So
yeah.
I think like we need to simplify, and I love social media. I think it's a great tool to connect with people that you might not never meet in real life.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing life with people in person, it's all
Mm,
fake. And
yeah.
it's not how Jesus made disciples. He sat across the table. They lived together. I mean, we don't all have to move in together, but like we need to be doing regular life. That's where we see each other's real side. And that's
Yeah.
where we test being vulnerable. I'm not saying get on social media and start crying. You know what I mean? Like, let's not do that. You should have friends in
Yeah.
real life that you can go
That's good.
to and be vulnerable with. And if you don't, then it's time to do a little inventory on what you need to change, because that is where fulfillment really comes from. That's where truth and love comes from, a place of safety. And that's where you
Mm,
can see the fruit of people's lives.
mm,
So, like, this might be a good time to transition into talking about a part of our friendship in the last 2 years that, now looking back, if I had known more about some of the people by being up close, which
mm.
you can't do on social media. You can't see the fruit of
You
somebody's
can't.
life on social media because
Yeah.
they're sharing all the good stuff.
You only see what they want you to see.
Exactly.
And it could be a
So
complete lie.
exactly. So that is the danger, especially as Christians, that I'm just warning, especially younger people. Some people are good communicators, and even if they're not purposely trying to deceive you, they're good at hiding their lack of fruit or maybe some of their rotten fruit, which
Mm,
we all have a little bit of.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you can't see the fruit on a tree until you get up close.
For sure. For
So
sure.
it's very
And
important that we do
yeah.
in real life together.
Yeah, proximity, I would say proximity matters. And to that point, as far as getting together in person, I'm right now struggling with that very specifically, just because of the season and the timing that we're in. We're kind of a little bit in limbo mode. But I wonder, I think I have this conversation with God all the time. Like, is it because people are too busy? Is it because they don't want to let other people into the ugliness of their life? Like, not that their life is ugly, but like maybe they don't want you to see how their kids behave behind closed doors, or
Wow.
what their house looks like, or that they get frustrated and overwhelmed. And if that's the case, then why have we gotten to the point where none of that is okay?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Probably because
because
social media.
right, because of the facade of social media. And it's so again, and I'll let you answer this. Like, what do you think the reason is that people are less hesitant? Is it a still, a symptom, or a, what's the word, ramification of COVID? Is it because we're too
Mm,
busy? Because I know a lot of times it's like we try to get together with people and either we're too busy or they're too busy. And it's
yeah.
like, so is it just we're too busy, or is it fear of being seen? Because everybody wants to be seen, but then they also fear being seen.
Yeah. I think it's both. I will say now, having teenagers, that there are seasons to parenting.
Mm,
And I will say, like, also bring it back to something we've talked a lot about, and it's priorities within the family unit. And
mm,
we've never agreed with that lie of busyness that
yeah.
takes kids out at every evening, that prioritizes both parents working too much,
Mm-hmm.
and there has to be an intentionality around the family schedule. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, I will say that in this season, even with both of my kids only doing one extracurricular activity, they're on different nights. So there
Mm.
are multiple nights we're out during the week. But I will say, like, even Brad and I were talking this morning of intentionally creating space on the weekends to hang out with another family, even if it's just
Mm.
one. And even in our life of doing life together in Wilmington, like we were hosting people, we were like
Mm-hmm.
cooking people food, and Brad is amazing at it. But even if you're not amazing at it, it doesn't matter. I think people just want to be invited. But
Yeah.
then because of Pinterest and social media, we think, but I have to do something grand and my house has to be
Right.
perfect. And it's like,
Yes.
no, nobody, I
That's
just
so
showed you my
real.
bedroom before we started this.
And I was like, oh, I don't care. It's a great
It's
space,
like,
such a
I
great
mean,
space.
I'll share it on social media, but like, yeah, people have this preconceived notion. I think in past generations, because they didn't have that pressure, they were just
Right.
like stopping by to their neighbor's house and like
Yeah.
connecting. And they also had hobbies. I think we as
Mm-hmm.
women have lost the art of a hobby, and now we're
What's
playing
that?
pickleball, but we got to be awesome at it.
Right.
And I got to have all the right gear, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah.
no, you don't.
Yeah. So the answer is, or the suggestion is, we're probably too busy and also a little bit of perfectionism and, feeling like we have to do things a certain way. And so the encouragement, if you're listening or watching, is, and this is for me too, right? Because like I said, we're kind of in a weird season of not having community. So backstory is Marissa and Brad, her husband, used to live in Wilmington. They lived in Texas. We should kind of say the story because it's a
Yeah,
fun
probably,
story.
because it's kind of a cool story.
Yeah. We met our kids were in a school, an online school, and the school gathered in Texas for an event. And Marissa and I met there. We were introduced by a friend and we
Mhm.
hit it off. We exchanged numbers and we basically like long distance friendship dated for a few
Yeah.
months where we voice messaged each other every day pretty much.
Mhm.
And we just got to know each other really well. And Jonathan and I happened to be going to Texas for another event. And we're like, hey, we're going to be in Texas. We'd love to see you. And we got together with them, hit it off. Our families hit it off. Our husbands hit it off, which is always, a good
Yeah,
sign.
that's rare. That's rare for our
It's
type of husband. So
it's
that was a
it's
good sign.
very yeah, that was a good sign. And then they came to visit us in Wilmington and just fell in love with the coastal town and us.
It was, yeah,
And
a
and
big
at the
part.
time, which goes back to the friendship, we'll circle back to that in a second. The church that we were at the time was also very appealing for what your family was wanting.
Mhm.
Lots of lessons learned there for sure for all of us, but
Yeah.
they moved to Wilmington and we had the ability to do life together for, was it 2 years?
Yeah, like 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So
So
they lived 30 minutes from us. We were together every week, at least once a week. And our kids were together, and our husbands got together, and Marissa and I got together, and we just really developed a really amazing friendship. And so now they moved away, and now they're living somewhere else. And Jonathan and I are still here in Wilmington, missing our besties for sure. But so it's kind of, it's challenging because you're like, now that, we've had so many friendships that essentially are not around us anymore. We're in this place where like, well, who's our community? Who are our people? And
sure.
even still falling into, well, we're busy because, the boys and the kids and the businesses and then a lot of people don't really, and I don't want to blame anybody because whenever there's a lack in something, you're meant to fill it, right? If there's a vacuum, if there's a hole, if there's something
Yeah.
missing, like people aren't inviting us or people are not including us, well, then you go out and you
Yeah,
include and you
create it. Yeah.
invite, right? So there is that, but we just haven't done that. And so my encouragement to all of you and to myself is like, be the one to invite, get together face to face with people. And like Marissa said, have those moments for open doors for vulnerability. Because I think one of the like my biggest struggles, I'll just speak for myself, is actually opening up my heart and letting people in, even though I want to help people that are walking through what I'm walking through or will or have. I love to bring freedom to other people through my testimony.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's very hard for me to open up and be like, I'm a big mess. Because that's hard,
It is
especially when
hard.
people think that like you have it all together and I'm not saying everybody thinks that about me, but like you feel like you have to keep up with that for whatever reason. Maybe that's
Hmm.
my own, the own lie I believe in my head. So I'm like, even with Marissa, be like, how can I tell Marissa that, like, how I feel right now? She's going to think I'm crazy. She's going to want to check me into like a home or something. Like, this is not normal. But it was real. I mean,
It's
hello,
normal.
like perimenopause,
Hmm.
hormones,
Yeah.
spiritual warfare, it's all real, right?
Yeah.
Now, the goal is that we don't stay there because
Totally.
there have been seasons where I've been there more days than I'd like to admit. And then there's a lot of times where it's like one day and then I'm good, right? And so
Yeah.
you want to share that with people so they don't stay there, but it's
Hmm.
hard to be vulnerable. So my encouragement to all of you listening and watching,
Yeah.
and even to Marissa and myself, is like
Mhm.
have those moments and those spaces to be vulnerable and to let people into your heart because that's how intimacy is created, which in turn strengthens relationships and
Yeah.
friendships,
Yeah.
right?
So
Would you add
good.
anything to that?
I really love dissecting those lies. So I do think there's probably something there. And then this is just what we talk about. So we love each other. We have a lot of trust. If I give feedback or she gives feedback to me, it's like, okay, you've earned that trust over multiple years of showing up, proving your love. And so giving good feedback, which is lacking today.
Mm,
So we see a lot of people who are like, I'm affirmed, I'm affirmed, I'm affirmed. And I never got any feedback, and that's a problem. Okay.
yeah.
Anyways, I do think you should like check on that lie because that's like not, I don't think that's, I think because I've seen you, you have such an amazing capacity to love. I do
Mm,
think you need to have wisdom, right? We learned that very intimately together over the last 2 years, and you more
mhm,
so even through, the big betrayal that happened with
mhm,
inviting
mhm.
somebody into your home who was lying the whole time.
Yeah. If you
Which,
don't
by
know
the
that
way, I was
story,
there the whole
yeah,
time and was totally fooled by the whole thing too.
yeah.
And she was like in a bathing suit at 4th of July. We're on our boats. I guess now there was probably signs, but you just like you never would have thought like this. That's a soap
Nobody.
opera thing. Like
Yes.
what?
Nobody would have thought.
You never would imagine this. And that's just
Nope.
so beautiful to speak to the tenderness of your heart that you would open your home to
Mm,
somebody like that. And so I think this is just a season where God is teaching you wisdom around like who gets full access to you. And
yeah.
that list, and He taught me that during this season, is like,
Mm,
we need to not, just because we feel like we click with somebody, it's like you need to give that space and time, and you need to do life with those people in person
yeah.
and over multiple times decide if they get access to you. What you cannot control is how people treat that, and people will totally disappoint you.
For
I
sure.
have disappointed Melissa disappointed me, and
Yeah.
it's not ever going to be perfect. That's where you have to decide, like, okay, is this action, behavior, something that I want to work through? Or is this
Mm,
a sign that like this relationship is now not going any further? And that's where
mm,
boundaries come in. That's like such a deep conversation, right? But
yeah.
ultimately, like getting to a place where you are trying. And I don't know what that means to everybody in every season. I think it can look really different, but I do
Hmm.
think there is a need for in real life doing life together. There was one
Yeah.
other thought I was thinking of when you were talking. I think some spirit-filled, charismatic Christian women got taught this like, if you agree with the negative thing, you're like cursing yourself. Like if you say,
Mm,
I'm not feeling well. Oh, now I'm gonna be more sick.
don't speak that.
Like, don't
Like,
speak
no,
that.
it's true.
I think also we need to untangle that a bit.
Yeah.
And because it could also, if you're like trying to be perfect and like be perfect for God, the
Mm,
vulnerability will be even harder because you believe the lie that you can't say like what you need.
yeah. That's so good.
A little
That's so
dangerous.
good. And like you said, it's okay to like be around people for the sake of community and just it brings a level of joy and it brings a level of just filling your tank, filling your cup, and
Yeah.
then choosing who you use discernment, use wisdom, use prayer, and then
Yeah.
choosing who you actually are vulnerable and open and honest with. And
Yep.
then the second part, like you said, is not being attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
Because then somebody does misunderstand you, say something that hurts you and you're just like, you're wiped out and now you never want to have another friend ever again. And like, that's what the enemy wants. So we
Totally.
have to really like strengthen ourselves in the Lord and in the Word, the more intimate we are with Him, then the less offense will be created in our
Hmm.
heart when
So good.
somebody is human,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because Jesus didn't get offended by Judas. He gave him a kiss and
Yeah,
he was like, oh, okay, it's happening. I kind of knew that was going to happen already because I'm God, but I
right.
still let you in. I still broke bread with you. I still loved you. I still do. I
Mm,
still ministered to you. And now you're sending me to my death, but that's okay. But I still love you. And it was all part of the plan, anyways. And so it's like, if Jesus
yeah,
knew he was going to be betrayed and still did all that, then we can't guard ourselves so much and not allow people in fear of betrayal, in fear of mistrust,
yeah,
in fear of, because, as much discernment and wisdom and all the things, like humans are humans, right?
totally.
Um,
And even
one of,
like Joseph, like you most often, if you have some sort of destiny on your life, which we all do, there's no
yeah,
big or small.
yeah.
It's important because it's your destiny. If we think
Hmm.
about Joseph, he would have never gotten into that position without experiencing really bad betrayal. And
Totally.
so, we even got to have that like revelation through experiencing betrayal together. It's like, okay, we get to give meaning to this. We can either make it affirm the wounds in our heart of rejection and keep us as a victim, or
Mm.
we can keep trusting God, see it as
Hmm.
like a thing that actually moved me closer to my calling. It was
Mm.
actually a deliverance from God to like warn us to not go further into that relationship and
Yeah,
divert us. And if we look at it that way, it changes the trajectory of the lesson you learn.
absolutely. It's always used for good and for preparation
Yeah.
and for protection, right? And
It
so,
also still sucks.
yeah, still sucks. Still, there's still like, and that's the thing. We say this all the time. Two things can be true at the same time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Feelings can exist at the same time. Two truths can be true at the same time, as long as they're not like opposites, right? It could be like, well, they can be. You could be like I was the other day. I trust, I know, I believe, but I'm hurting right now, right?
Yeah.
And so I just needed a moment. I needed to surrender to the Lord. You can be sad and grieving and upset, but also grateful that you were taken from that situation or moved on
Yeah.
from it or whatever. And so I don't want to speak in code because I hate when people do that to me. I'm like, what are you talking
What are
about?
you
What do you
talking about? I
mean?
was just
Tell me,
thinking we need
tell
to
me
tell
more
them.
details. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to, no, that's okay. It wasn't you. It's just, I just want to make sure that, in talking about like, one of the things I love about Marissa is that takes the things that she learns and that she walks through and grows in, and she then not only becomes, more wise and more surrendered and more intimate with the Lord, but she also shares it and uses it to grow in those areas. So for example, you had a health scare, health issue, and now you're helping people with their health through everything that you've learned over the years, right? You have had, challenges in your marriage like we all have.
Yeah.
And learned marriage more intentionally, learned parenting more intentionally. And now you talk about that. And it's something that you've even helped me with. You've helped me grow in, and not just by your words, but also just by your actions and how you live your life. It is always like, inspiring and has taught me so much. And so the other area is friendships, right? You are very intentional. I always told Marissa when she lived here, I'm like, I don't know how to be a good friend. Okay. I'm just telling you, I don't know what I'm doing. I seem to mess it up all the time. I seem to not be as intentional as I want. I seem to like just not know what to do. Like, I just like, this is the standard thing to do in friendship, and I miss it because I just don't know. And I want to know and I want to do better. So help me. And she taught me how to celebrate and how to have fun and all the things. Well, one of the things that happened, I guess, like in the middle-ish of our time together here, friendship, is that we met, like I said, through school. One of the reasons they moved here is because we were going to a church. And Marissa and Brad wanted to be a part of it as well. And our husbands were on the board of this church. And unfortunately, because of things that they experienced or saw, they knew that they could no longer be on the board and then ultimately no longer be in the church. In addition, there were other things that were happening or happened, and I'll let Marissa speak to this, but just like not great things as it relates to friendship and relationship,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting because in some ways what Marissa and I experienced was a little bit different, but the further I get and I look back, I'm like, okay, maybe it wasn't to me, but it still wasn't cool. right?
Yeah.
Because like if I hang out with a friend and she's like nasty to the waitress every time I go eat with her, I don't care that it's not to me. I don't like that about you because I
Yeah.
strongly believe in being kind to people,
Right.
especially those serving you, right? So there comes a point where it's like, okay, it may not be with me, but it's not cool. And
Yeah.
so we experienced that, and that not only challenged Marissa and I in friendship in general, in relationships in general, because overnight we like lost all our friends, our entire community, our friends, like one day to the next, we
Yeah.
have nobody now. Thank God we had each other.
Yeah.
But it was hard because Marissa and I didn't necessarily agree on the matter. It really challenged our friendship. I look back and I'm like, man, we could have like lost each other in that moment.
Hmm.
We probably should have, by the grace of God and your
Yeah.
patience.
Totally.
I kind of sometimes look and I'm like, I wish you would have just like been like, hey, are you not seeing this? Like you're a dummy for the way you're acting and treating this situation. I wish you would have called me out a little bit more, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I came around, God showed me. And so we learned a lot about friendship and relationship. And I just want you to, I'll let you speak to it, but it's like now we can like see so many different things so differently from a different lens of greater
Yeah,
wisdom and revelation because of it. And like,
for sure.
to not give up on people and not like just pray a lot and be
Hmm.
patient on God's timing, because I'm sure you did that with me. And, we had hard conversations. I mean, I remember we traveled once and we were up till like 3 in the morning in the hotel room, and I still wasn't fully around, right? I was still like not fully on the same page, but we were willing. That's the thing, you guys. This is it, right? Be willing to have hard conversations, even when you're not right or
Yeah.
they're not seeing your point and you're not seeing theirs. Keep wrestling with each other. Keep talking in love, not to be right, but to be
Hmm.
in unity.
Yeah. So good.
And so what would you say on that? Because now we kind of now let people in on what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah. I always like to give the caveat to any conversation where you're talking about a hurtful experience with another person is
Hmm.
that two people are involved and this is my perspective.
For sure.
And also, the fight is not with flesh and blood.
Mm-mm.
So I know that I had to fight really hard in the midst of my own experience with this person. And it actually revealed some things in my own heart that God really needed to heal around
Mm,
rejection,
mm,
around the type of people I try to pursue relationship with. Now, I've
mm,
gotten it right a lot. I have the fruit
mhm,
of amazing friends like you.
mm,
But then there was this other part of my heart that really looked to be seen by
mhm.
people I thought were like, if we're just going to be immature about it, like popular.
For sure. Yeah. Like,
So,
oh, they want to be my friend. They want to talk to
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're seeing
Yeah.
me because I had this horrible wound of rejection.
And that comes
So,
from, that's the same, like, Marissa, think about how many women have that same exact thing coming from childhood, either not having their emotional needs met, being
mhm,
abandoned emotionally or even physically,
yeah,
and having been rejected. You have
for
all
sure.
those things, even one of them or all of them. And then you go into adulthood and you're
Hmm.
still the same wounded little girl that's looking for the same things. And
Oh,
we didn't
yeah,
even realize it, right? Until you're
totally.
like, whoa, how did I get here? Why did I care so much that this person wanted to be my friend and thought I was so
Yeah,
cool? And it's like, that's so ill. That's so tacky.
yeah.
Like and to do it for any human being.
For sure. Yeah. And that's what really helped me realize like having that idol, God needed to, like, I needed to repent and get rid of that.
Yeah.
I do believe that there is a lot of spiritual abuse happening inside the church because I have had conversations with women who are in different parts of the country, not even a part of that same organization, who have experienced it. So it's definitely
Mm,
something God is like exposing. I also
hmm.
think that at the same time, you can come with this critical spirit against the church and have unhealthy expectations around what the church is supposed to be in your life.
Hmm.
So I'm not
Totally.
coming at it from a critical spirit. I'm sharing my actual experience with a person. And it
Hmm.
was like, let's just call it what it is. It's spiritual abuse. try to
Mm,
manipulate you. It's verbal abuse when
mm,
somebody tries to manipulate you or twist something that you did because of their own wounds,
mm.
especially if they're supposed to be a trusted leader in your life.
Right.
So I want to make that very plain because I think it's easy to just be like, well, I forgive them. I have, and I still do. I have, it's like the 77 times 7. I'm like, yep, still because
Still forgiving
touch,
every
yeah,
day.
it's still touch. I guess it's like sometimes, Lord, I'm like, obviously take it away. Like part of it is like wanting justice, make sure other people don't get hurt. I just
Mm,
realized that I can't fix that for everybody, unfortunately. What I can do is
right.
share my testimony, and hopefully it gives other people the permission to like evaluate every relationship in their life, but especially if you're going into like a church situation, considering
Mm.
moving across the country for to be a part of something, make sure it's not like an idol or a codependency or something like that, because that's
Yeah.
asking for trouble. Even if you think Jesus is at the core of it, if you attach your life to somebody, you better make sure they have good fruit.
Yeah. And like in every area of their life and not just because they say they do, right?
Yeah. Not because they
Because
say
anybody can say anything, right? And then
yeah.
you like see how they live and you're like, "Oh no, that's actually not
It's
that."
not.
And
Yeah.
and to your point, you're right. This like there are two sides to every story, and I'll be the first one to say there are things I did that I wish I would have done differently. Ways I handled things or things, how I reacted. I just wish, you know what? The most important thing, and I wrote this down because I think this is like the solution in my just
Mm.
finite mind, and to simplify it, how could it have been avoided, or how could it have is like be willing to have really hard conversations really fast.
Yeah.
And then not just have them, but like make a decision after that conversation. Like, okay, where do I stand? What are my values? What do I think is
Yeah.
important? Lord, what are you showing me? What are you telling me? And then have the conversation with the other person, making sure that they're willing to receive it and then speak, like have an actual dialogue about it, which
Yeah.
will usually tell a lot of things. If they get offended, if they can't handle the conversation, if they
Yeah.
gaslight you, and then it's like, oh, okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. Gotta
Yes.
go.
Right. I mean,
Right?
we know this now, being multiple almost years removed from it, but like
Mm,
in it, you're like questioning yourself, right? You're
totally.
like, but ultimately, like the fruit of us stepping away from that organization and those relationships was
Mhm.
because you had hard conversations with them and it was not received. So, like,
Correct. Yeah.
that's
I
like
think
that.
for me personally, the guys did several multiple conversations in person.
Right.
I think for me, I'll just be really honest. I wish I would have had them with like my friend and the person that I could have connected with, right? Like the lead pastor. I wish I would have had the conversations directly. But again, going back to all of my fears and insecurities, I
Mhm.
was afraid. I wanted to keep our beautiful, happy, peachy keen
Yeah.
friendship, and I didn't want anything to taint it, and I didn't
Right.
want to. I didn't want to go there, and that's
But that's
wrong.
not real friendship.
That's not real friendship. That
That's
is
the whole
literally
point.
walking on eggshells, fearing the loss of this idolized friendship that's fake.
Hmm. Yep.
And I did, and I love these people. I love the church, the community, the friends, like very, very much so. And it was very heartbreaking for me,
Yeah.
even though it was a decision we made. That doesn't mean that it was easy. And I grieved for a very long time, longer than I'd like to admit, but that's just real. And so, but I love what you said, and I think this is so true. We're not going to label this like church hurt. You're right. There are components of spiritual abuse, and that's just like in the church in general, right?
Yeah.
I love the church. It's God's design. I am like for it and never
Yeah.
want to like attack anybody that is taking
Same.
on the mantle of ministry, because it is not easy, right? I know you agree with that too.
Definitely.
But it definitely, in dealing with anything, we don't want to allow ourselves to be abused by anything or anyone, right? And it can sometimes and oftentimes be flat out that. And
Yeah.
at the same time, there are things in us that
Hmm.
we can look at, dig up, ask questions. Why am I feeling this way? Why did I allow that? Why was I drawn to this? Lord, how did I handle this wrong? What mistakes did I make? And what do you need to do in me to make
Yeah.
my heart more pure and more like you in
Yes.
this situation, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that's the goodness of like of God, but also
Yeah.
like the fruit of a situation like this, although unfortunate and really sad. Wow, did we grow so much after it?
Exponentially
And
multiply.
huge,
It's
which is
like
like just goes to
mandate to multiply.
that's
Like,
right.
this
That's
is
right. Which just
multiplied.
goes to show that God uses everything. And I'm
Hmm.
sure on the flip side, the other party also probably grew and learned and, hopefully have things that they took away from it as well. That's like the prayer and that's what we hope, right?
For sure.
And again, this isn't like to put anybody down, point anybody out, but like just to be real and honest with where we were and how that God used that to exponentially multiply us in the area of friendship and relationships and expectations.
Yeah.
And now it's so great and freeing because, like, I don't care what church you run, how many followers you have, how many
Yeah.
prophetic words you've given. I really don't care. I honor people that the Lord has appointed,
Yeah.
but I will not put you on a pedestal unless you're Jesus. That's it.
Totally. He's the only one worthy
And
of being on one.
is the
So,
only one worthy, right? And so, and it also like just lowers the bar for people. Like, I don't have to expect you to be perfect
yeah.
because you are, you have this platform or you've done these things, right?
Right.
Like
Totally.
you're human, but I'm also gonna, use that same humanity to like call you out and call you higher.
For sure.
But I won't expect you to be Jesus.
No, and we never should do that. It sets us all up for major disappointment, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's probably a large part of what's happening inside the church. And that brings us back to like the whole perfection thing is like that's why we don't be vulnerable and invite people into our home sometimes, because that's just
Mm,
like another manifestation of trying to feel like we have it all together, right? So,
yeah.
and with that, I had to really guard my heart and yes, learning how to have proper boundaries and learn like which
Mm,
circle of my life do you get access to? Am I
yeah.
pouring into you? Are you a little bit farther along and maybe encouraging me in an area as like a mentor? Are you inner circle close friend? And
Mm,
there are those like layers to evaluate in all healthy relationships. And then also to make sure that I guarded my heart so that I didn't close it off again. Because
mm,
over the years, I've done so much work, inner healing, to heal some of those wounds so that I could invite people into my life and have good friends. And the experience we went through was the enemy tried to use it to get me to like completely just write people off again and
yeah.
not let people in.
Yeah.
But that's the other extreme. We don't want to live that way. It will be very lonely.
Mm,
And I knew too much, but I had to work really hard. It was definitely a wrestling to make sure I didn't completely just write everybody off, close off my heart again, because that does not equal anything good or healthy.
that's so good. Yeah. We did an episode called, learning to trust again after betrayal.
Mm,
And if you didn't hear our episode about betrayal specifically, like Marissa said, we had someone living with us that said she was pregnant and wasn't pregnant, was faking a pregnancy. There we have an episode on specific, like that's real betrayal, right? Because sometimes
yeah.
people are like, I was betrayed. I'm like, no, you just got your feelings hurt. Like
Yeah. There's
nobody
levels.
tried to actually betray you. It could feel like betrayal because you had your heart was going in one direction and your feelings were going in one direction. And all of a sudden you get like totally wrecked by this person. It feels like betrayal, but then there's like intentional
Really, yeah.
betrayal, right?
Right,
And I'm
right.
not lessening the betrayal of the other kind
No.
because they hurt the same and you have to grieve the same. Grieving
Right.
is definitely grieving is grieving. There's just different levels of it. But go listen to that episode
Yeah.
because it tells the story. And then trusting again after betrayal, I reference,
Mm,
this church situation and these friendships. But I think I'm in that season now where it's like, okay, it's time to open my heart again.
yeah.
And I have women who I have opened my heart again to because they've been in my world for the last 5 years through all of it, but they're not local, right? So it's a little bit easier to like show up on a screen and show up twice a year
Yeah.
for a retreat and say that you
For
have
sure.
community
Yeah.
than it is like, you're coming over in 30 minutes when, I have like food on the counters right now. Like there's a
Yeah.
difference, right? Like doing life with somebody that you see weekly. And so I am, I'll keep you posted, but I am in the season of like doing that again. And I
Mm.
think for me, just to be really honest, and maybe somebody can relate to this, is like, I think my heart is ready, totally ready to be open and to have close friendships. I think the thing that I fear is like, it's like that feeling of abandonment, I think, like being like, oh, I don't mind being vulnerable. I don't mind being opening up my heart because I don't really like, I won't be disappointed because again, I have a different heart posture on somebody hurting me or disappointing
Yeah.
me or like I'm right. I won't be like, I can't believe you, because I understand. I will
Yeah.
believe it. But
Yeah.
I'm not jaded and I'm not cynical. I'm just like, I love you and I'm here and let's grow in friendship. I think my fear is like, are they going to leave? Right? Like, am I going
Mhm.
to start this friendship and then, I'm going to move away. They're going to move away. They're going to start growing distant and not tell me why. And because for some reason, that's like a thing that we do as humans because we don't want to have hard conversations. Like, oh, I saw something I don't like, or you said something or whatever. I'm just going to distance myself and I won't tell you
Mm.
why. And it's like, I've been guilty of doing that myself. So it is a thing. That's a real thing that we do.
Yeah.
But it's time. It's time to trust again. It's time to like let people in our hearts. And like you said, we were designed for that community and designed for
Okay.
that kind of relationship and connection. So, if you're listening or watching and you are isolated, that is where the enemy wants you, not God.
Definitely.
Do not
Definitely.
stay there. Do not
It's
stay there.
also okay to be picky and
Yeah.
obviously to like have standards. I'm not just saying
Yeah.
like it might take time and
Hmm.
God may
Hmm.
move you. God may physically move you
He
so that you
might.
can find your people.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen that to be true. And now it's like full circle back in a community that we were a part of before. And so just be willing. And I think
Yeah.
also, Melissa, as we think about being kingdom people, we are kind of transient. And I think we
Mm.
are on mission. So first and foremost is obedience to go where you're called to go. But then
Hmm.
also that I find that it usually means that there are people on the other side that you either need or they need you, and it's meant to be vice versa. So there is that caveat to kingdom living that
Yeah.
I mean, I got asked to leave a beloved community, but it ended up in meeting you. And although going through a hard thing, like the fruit of the lesson completely changed the trajectory of my life, gave me the boldness to start my now business and to
Mm.
have the confidence to know like the enemy tried to convince me that I was weak. And I was like,
Mm.
no, I'm like still alive at almost 44. I've lived through my dad dying in a car accident when I was 12. I've lived through having a single mom most of my life. I've lived through, getting married and learning a lot of hard lessons there. Like, I'm not weak. I'm freaking strong. And that he tried to convince me that
Heck
that
yeah.
was true. And so
Mm.
now I have the fruit of, yeah, some hard lessons, but that's the oil. And that's something you
Mm.
and I have been talking a lot about over the last year. It's like, the handmaidens with their lanterns, the 10 handmaidens from the bridegroom. Sorry, I'm not a Bible scholar. It's fine. I know what I mean.
Mm.
Hopefully you
I know
catching what
exactly
I
what you
mean.
mean. Totally. Yes.
Their lamps and the
Yes.
oil. And that story has just stuck with me for years. And I'm like, well,
Mm.
some of them, do you buy the oil? How do you get the oil? And just one day it
Mhm.
hit me. It's like you get crushed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
No,
olive
that's
oil.
real.
You get crushed. And it's not
That's
like,
real.
oh, I'm gonna pinch you. It's
Yeah.
like, bam. And I
Hmm.
think some of us in Christianity just aren't prepared for that level of surrender of our life to really get crushed. And it's for our good. And that oil that you
Totally.
have is not only for you, it's to offer to others and can only be transferred. It can't actually be transferred. You can share it through your experience of it, but they have to go through their own crushing to get
Get
their
their
own
own.
oil.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you can share the wisdom of it, but the
Yeah.
oil itself, we know from that story, they couldn't share it. It was like, oh, give us some. And they're like, we can't. We don't have enough to share with you. This is hard earned, hard fought
Yeah.
oil.
Harder.
And there isn't time right now to go produce it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of, it's too bad. Like, sorry, not
Yeah.
sorry. And so, like, we can share the wisdom and we share the fruit and we share, I think, the call for other people to get their own oil,
Yep.
right? It's like calling people higher, but we can't avoid the crushing.
Nope.
We can't avoid the hard things. We can't avoid. It's like I was talking about this yesterday. I was like, people want the fruit, they want the life, they want the marriage, they want the kids, they want the money, they want the businesses. But it's like, you don't just go from like, people are like, glory to glory. I'm like, yeah, in between is not actually glory filled. I
Valley.
mean, it is,
Yeah.
the Lord is there, but it's hard, right? It's
Yeah.
painful. There's stuff you have to fight hard for. And so that is so true. Is like full circle moment. You're back in that same community that you felt like God was asking you to leave, but now you're there with a lamp way more full than when you left,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah, for
like
sure.
that wouldn't have come without the difficulty of having to leave and everything that you walked through while you were gone. And now
Mhm.
you get to be back in that community, leveled up in every way. And now get to be a blessing to the people around you there just on another level, which is like so cool to see.
Thanks,
I love
friend.
that.
I
Yeah,
miss you though. Being in
I
person
know.
is different and it takes more intentionality when you are not physically in the same location.
Mm.
But the cool thing is that when you're meant to be friends and you intentionally try, it was is 100% able to be maintained even in long distance, even as you're
Yeah.
called and asked to go somewhere else. Like some of us have very real callings on our lives that will get us to move to different areas to bring that oil to that area, right? So, and the
Mhm.
giftings inside of us. And so, but the life ones like are rare, but they happen and they can still be maintained even while you're pursuing that call on your life.
Yeah, that's so true and so good. Well,
Mm.
I want to make sure that everyone listening knows how they can get in touch with you, what it is that you're offering right now, because you help women so beautifully in the space of like holistic health, addressing issues from the root cause, making sure, gut, hormones, spiritual, soul, like everything is addressed on a holistic level. And I know that there's women listening to this that need that. So, how can they reach you and what are you doing right now specifically that we can put in the show notes that people can work with you in?
Yeah. So the website is myluminapath.com. And we do testing in different areas. I always try to simplify it and bring it back to the foundational issues that most of us don't address. And that is gut health, liver health, that are the foundations. And
Mm,
we address that in multiple different ways, but those two systems are overwhelmed with toxins in our food, in the air. Stress is a big one
hmm
that I get to enlighten women on how it affects your body and
hmm
strategies to change that, whether that's mindset, whether that's intentionally changing things in their schedule. But we always do testing to really see exactly what we're addressing and then go through basically like a strategic pathway that the Lord highlighted to me in going in the right order so that you get the most results at the end. And I will say, sometimes at the end, after we do all of the support and you have all of the habits, I might refer you to do something like HRT or
mm,
we talk about peptides. But so many people are like becoming obsessed with biohacking and taking
hmm
NAD and glutathione. And the thing is like you're just like putting on a little band-aid that like I
mm,
guess if your plan is to take those forever, that's fine. But if you don't actually like detox properly and take the burden off of those two organs,
mm.
like colon cancer is now the number one killing cancer for people under 50. Like
Wow,
what?
that's
The colon is part of your
crazy.
gut. Your gut needs
Yeah.
support. And it's not something to be afraid of. It's just something we need the right tools around. And I believe that the Lord
Mm,
is giving to his bride, to his people, to all people, because we have to be more cunning in these days
mm.
in stewarding our health so that it will multiply. So
That's so good.
right now, I'm actually doing a group parasite cleanse, so I don't know when this will be released, but I do those a few times a year now. And then I
Awesome.
also offer that as just something you could buy and download and do yourself at any time. It walks you through strategically an 18-day process of preparing your drainage pathways first, because you can't
Mm,
go into just killing parasites. You have to make sure your body's ready to get rid of them. So
I love that.
I'm doing that right now. And then anytime that I have openings, I work one-on-one with women and or couples to optimize. And that your gut health
Mm.
is the best place to start.
I love that so much. I love it, love it. And I think that I know we need to talk again. We've talked about my health so many times and you've helped me so much. And then I get guilty of like busy and I stopped taking some supplements. And then I'm like, oh, I'm here again. What happened?
But you're
So
so healthy. You have so
I
many of
am.
the
I
habits
do. It's so
already ingrained
important.
in you, which
Yeah.
having muscle is seriously also medicine. So
Yes.
that will
And I have
strategically keep you going for a long time for sure.
Yes, I'm always like, women, lift weights no matter what you do. I love
That's right.
Pilates, but go lift heavy dumbbells.
Strong, strong over
Heavy
skinny.
barbells. Absolutely. Okay, so in the show notes, we're going to have your social handles and my Lumina path and anything that you're offering right now. So make sure that you go and follow Marissa and connect with her if it sounds like what she does is something you need. And just follow her because her content is amazing and so helpful and so creative. I'm so glad you were here today. I'm so grateful for you. I love you and just honor and cherish our friendship so much. Yeah, for sure. I love you. Thank you. Thank you all for listening and watching.
Yes,
Please make sure that you subscribe, that you leave a 5-star review, tell us
yes,
why you love this episode, and share it with anyone that needs to hear anything that we talked about today. All
yes.
right, we will see you. Thank you again, Marissa. We'll see you on the next episode.
Before you go, remember, God can use anything. Even the hardest parts of your story can become seeds for multiplication.
If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or subscribe so you never miss a moment of hope and truth.
You can also follow us on Mandate to Multiply on Instagram or mandatetomultiply.com to keep growing with us.
Until next time, trust God, steward well what's in your hand,
And live a life fully multiplied.